Mountain America has recently won an award from USA Today regarding best places to work.
I think it really speaks to who Mountain America is and the great organization and culture that we've created here. That's what we do exceptionally well that makes a great experience for our team members.
I love that. Trent, we're excited to have you today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Really, right out of the gate, Mountain America has recently won an award from USA Today, right, regarding best places to work. And as I look over a few other lists in 2023, there was 26 different awards that we won. I'm just going to look at this: Fast 50 Growing in Utah, Healthy Worksite, Green Business, Distinguished Director, Culture Excellence, Best Places to Work, CEO of the Year, Executive Excellence, HR Achievement Award. Holy cow.
It's pretty amazing.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. What do all of these awards mean from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it really speaks to who Mountain America is and the great organization and culture that we've created here. We have, I think, great leadership. You mentioned Sterling getting the CEO of the Year, and it starts with your CEO and your leadership team. But I think there's just such great support. I love Mountain America, the strong focus that we have on the membership. I've been at different organizations throughout my career, and what I found is the very best organizations, the very best in any industry, always choose to focus primarily on their member. And always following that is the focus on the employee or the team member, as we call them here at Mountain America. And I think we have an amazing focus. We have a great way of bringing to life the experience. We care deeply about our team members. We care deeply about their experience. And it's ultimately because we want to do a great job of taking care of our member.
Okay, so when you look at our team member experience, what would you say makes it unique? Is it that member experience?
Yeah.
Would you say that's the piece?
Well, there's a couple things. So if you look externally from a research perspective, it's almost like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah.
First of all, you need to have just safety. And I think in terms of great environment to be in, good, facilities, other types of things, just good people that you're with, we do that well. If you go up that chain, one of the very important things is just meaningful work and being connected to something that has purpose. And I think we have a great purpose that we're trying to solve and helping our members identify and achieve their financial dreams. And I think that resonates with our team members. We're passionate about that. Another thing is that we provide amazing growth opportunities. We empower them to act on behalf of the member. A lot of times I see organizations, they focus very much on, we got to get a ping pong table, or we got to get the Coke machine that has all the flavors. At the end of the day, employees don't really care about that. Those are nice to haves. What they care about is a leader that looks after their interests, that helps them grow and develop, that they feel like they're contributing to something meaningful. Those are the things that make a difference. And I think that's what we do exceptionally well that makes a great experience for our team members.
I love that. Well, you mentioned growth. Right? Tell me a little bit more about that and what that means, from your perspective, but really for the organization as a whole too.
Yeah. I'd say there's a couple things with it. Mountain America has, I think, historically done a great job of promoting from within. And we want to continue to be able to do that. We're growing very quickly. We went from 10 billion in assets to 20 billion in about 4.5 years. That's significant growth.
Yeah.
I started with a credit union about 6 years ago. We had about 1,700 employees. Today we're over 34. So that's a lot of growth and opportunities. That means two things. That means we're doing a lot of hiring. Now the hope is, as much as possible, how do we hire internally?
Yeah.
But we also recognize, and we want to hire externally, right? We have that need. But because we are so intentional about the culture that we're trying to create, we know that we have to focus on development internally. Otherwise, if we bring too many externally, we'll lose that. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to lose that. That is very critical to who the core of Mountain America is, this member experience and how we support each other in driving that member experience. And ultimately, the way we go about doing that is through growth and development. And there's a couple things. One is that we're growing fast enough. We need to grow people because we want them to be able to continue to grow here. Two, we want people to grow into leaders that can continue to lead us into the future. But if you look just externally with AI and everything else, Roles are changing on average skills. About a third of a given job is changing skills about every 3 years. I recently saw that 20% of roles in any given organization are going to be impacted by AI, that 50% will change in the next year to 2 years. That's fascinating. So, for us, a lot of meeting the needs of our members is having this learning and development mindset as a leadership and as a culture, because we want to develop our people. We want to provide great opportunities where they can do great things. I love how many of our leaders on the senior leadership team started out in the branches. It's amazing. And that's what we want to do, is keep providing opportunities for people, for whatever role they're in, they can continue to meet their career aspirations, and that's what we want to have happen here.
Yeah, I love that. You talked about culture, right? And the need for, kind of protecting that a little bit too. What would you say culture is for an organization?
Yeah, great question. I love this question, because how many times do people ask about what culture is, and they don't know, or they don't know how to articulate it?
Yeah.
There was a guy by the name of Ed Schein back in the 70s. He created a definition of culture, and I still believe it's relevant today. But what he talks about more or less is that culture is shared beliefs, values, and assumptions and behaviors. And so what are those common behavioral attributes that you see throughout the organization? For example, I think at Mountain America, the thought of taking care of our members is a cultural behavior that you see shared across the organization. So shared behaviors, values, assumptions, those are what makes up culture. What I believe we do that's unique at Mountain America, where I think a lot of companies miss, I've seen both. There's some companies where I call the plaque on the wall. It means, they've got some value statements, but nobody even can tell you what they are, or they for sure don't live them. And what we've done is really we really strive to bring those to life. When we do performance management, we assess against that. When we do promotions, we assess that. We really want to try and be very intentional about bringing our values to life. We actually went and met with members. We actually went and met with board members, because we said, what are the values and behaviors that you see that you care about? And so we actually tried to build those things. And so it's not so much just the internal experience. We're trying to marry the internal experience to the external experience we're trying to create with our members.
I love that. And earlier you said that really it comes down to the experience with the members that resonates with the team member experience.
Exactly.
So that's what makes up a culture.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on how this is going to have a long-term impact on the organization as we grow? Like, what are maybe some of the behaviors and the impact of them?
So one of the things, I'll ask you a quick question. Do you know how many Fortune 500 companies are based in Utah?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
0. Isn't that kind of mind-blowing? 0. And the reason I believe that's the case is because I'm not sure that we develop leaders effectively enough in Utah to take companies beyond just a small to mid-sized company, to really grow them to enterprise. And that's what we want to do at Mountain America. We want to develop leaders. We want to be known and recognized as having the capability of developing amazing leaders that can grow to enterprise size level companies. Today we're top 10 credit union in the nation. We want to keep growing and building our leaders where they can go well beyond that. So, if you look at those values, when we established them, there were some things that we just knew were already core to who we are at Mountain America. So integrity is one of those. Like, if you're not willing to just do the right thing, you just don't belong here, period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. We've talked about things like mutual trust and respect, and that really is such a key part of why our members value us. They know we respect their time, their interests, what they need, and we really try to help them. And that permeates both internally and externally. We changed some things. So we added things like speed and focus. We added things like bring out the best. And what we've done is tried to create this balance in behavior. So, for example, you have mutual trust and respect that says we want to be really respectful in how we treat people. One of the behaviors in bring out the best is talks about bringing out surfacing productive conflict. Those two can seem in conflict, but that's exactly what we're trying to do, is saying you have to do both exceptionally well. And I think that's what's so powerful about how we've built it and as we bring it to life. And I love to see over the past couple of years as we've been on this leadership journey, how we've continued to evolve our leaders and our leadership and the intentional focus that we've had on development. I think it's become a real power and a strength for Mountain America. And as we grow, I believe it will be a real differentiating capability for how we operate.
Yeah, I love that. And so interesting about Utah There's no Fortune 500 companies,
crazy.
yet we're known for, having so many startups.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
A very entrepreneurial state that moves to midsize, but then most of those just seem to look for exits versus growing to the enterprise level. And I think that's what's unique. I want to see Mountain America become that strong enterprise-sized organization that is enduring and can really live for, hundreds of years. We're about to hit 90 years in 2026. I'd love to say, hey, in 50 years, 100 years, Mountain America is still thriving.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a big part of that is obviously our focus of hiring and developing the best talent. And we have obviously another, we'll call it org chart, maybe flow of the blueprint.
Yep.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you, from a hiring perspective, we really want to try and find people that are great fits for our culture. And so we're very thoughtful about how we bring people in the organization. One of the things that we do is we have what's called employee value proposition. A lot of companies have that. And what it does is it says, what is the value that an employee gets from coming to Mountain America? What we did to go beyond that is we've created what we call the team member blueprint. We went out and did a lot of research to say, what is a great experience in an organization? HR has a tendency to talk about the experience, but what we realized is that leaders don't always translate what that means. It's like, okay, you're talking about the experience. Sure, I got that. But in reality, it's kind of been this vague, ambiguous term. So we went out again and did quite a bit of research, and we came up with the blueprint, which we think fits really nice with who we are at Mountain America. There's 6 core elements. I won't go through all of them, but it's things like meaningful work, as we discussed. We know that's important. People want to feel connected to the vision. Another one is productive environment, right? They want to have the right tools, technology that support them and enable them. In today's world, a few years ago, an employee would go home and they'd use their technology and it would work nice, things like Amazon or other things. But then they'd come to work and they'd be frustrated with their technology. In the past, employees used to be willing to put up with that. Today, that's becoming less and less so. They're expecting the same ease of use with technology in the workplace as they do at home. And so things like productive environment are important. One of the things that we've added that's very important to us at Mountain America is the importance of well-being. We want to provide a great experience that helps build financial acumen within our own team members. We don't want anybody to come to Mountain America and just leave having not developed their own financial skills and acumen. Another one is just their personal health and well-being, mental, physical. We've got a great on-site clinic. We've got satellite clinics. We've got a gym. Our corporate trainer, does videos for anybody that's remote. And so what we've tried to do with the blueprint is really look at it with our managers, having them look at it. But what's unique, I think, that we've done is we're tying our employee survey to the team member blueprint. So our leaders are getting data now that shows them how they're doing on the experience that they're creating for their team members. And I think the power of that is just going to continue to help us refine the experience and that employee value proposition. We're going to be more intentional about how we go after it and build that and create that positive experience. And we're going to get feedback on those specific criteria that helps us improve.
Yeah, love that. That feedback piece is the important piece, right?
Absolutely.
It's actually making a difference. So, you touched on this a little bit, but tell me if I'm correct in this. The majority of our team members are actually also members of the credit union, right? So, why is that important? Or how do you think that affects the culture overall too?
Yeah. Well, I always have a belief that anytime you're in an organization, the more you use the products that you're selling or working with your members on, you're going to understand them better, right? Yeah. And I think that's some of the powerful things. We've got some great rewards that we give to our team members with some of our products just to help them experience it. But I definitely believe that when they use it, they're more connected to it and understand how to help our members get the same benefit out of the products that we offer.
Yeah, I love that. And really, as we're investing this time, right, into, our products, our services, our employees, the hope is they're going to feel the same.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And invest that back.
That's exactly.
Okay, love that. Well, Trent, thank you so much for joining us today.
you.
I've learned a lot about the team member experience at Mountain America, and honestly, I don't think you could have sold it better.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, and thanks to all of you for joining as well, and we will see you on the next episode of Guiding You Forward.